I was watching the second season of The Mandalorian the other week, and I saw something that sparked a very old memory. The Mandalorian is rife with callbacks to the original Star Wars trilogy and the prequels. However, this was different. In the first episode of Season 2, the Mandalorian is burdened with the task of killing a great dragon, a sort of massive tunnelling lizard-like creature. He and his allies set a trap for this creature. They plant bombs around the entrance to the dragon's lair and bait it out with banthas. Eventually it takes the bait, detonating the explosions as it comes closer and closer to killing everyone. The thing is, I'd seen this before, in a video game. Almost everything was identical to the original circumstances, except the main characters, of course. I was watching a scene that was directly referencing a video game that I had played when I was young. Star Wars, Knights of the Old Republic. This took me down a bit of a rabbit hole, because as I looked into it and really thought about it, The Mandalorian is structured like it is a live-action video game, and this was completely intentional. The video game industry has had such a profound impact on the filmmakers of today that something as small as a boss battle in a game from 2003 made its way into a very large set piece in a show in 2020. The Mandalorian hadn't just taken reference from old games. Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni had embraced video game technology and technique to make something truly unique. This is a microcosm of an ongoing story that has shaped the game and film industry so much that they have become technically and spiritually entwined. From the bedrooms of hopeful creatives to the collaboration of multi-billion-dollar corporations on the set of The Mandalorian today, we're going to take a look at the relationship film and video games have developed that have led to some of the biggest advances in filmmaking thus far this century. The two industries have, over the last 20 years or so, formed a symbiotic relationship that has become a key factor in their success. Symbiotic in a business sense, of course, not a biological way. Let's break down their relationship into three sections, all beginning with the letter T. As we've already mentioned The Mandalorian, I thought it best to continue from here. The Mandalorian has drawn a lot of inspiration from video games. However, more importantly, it is using video game technology behind the scenes, or should I say, for the scenes. ILM, Industrial Light and Magic, formed by George Lucas himself, teamed up with Unreal Engine developers to use LED panels to create a live virtual set. Throwing out those old-fashioned green screens, Jon Favreau opted to mix physical sets with LED walls in order to create a live environment for the crew and actors to work with software engineers and game developers on set in order to tweak lighting and background using virtual reality, computers, and even tablets. The lighting could be directly affected and moved to imitate the time of day or set with a simple click of a button as the LED panels surrounded most of the set. This allowed for on-the-fly editing while they filmed, giving the audience a better overall experience of the final product. All of this is only possible because of a game engine. Something that was originally designed to create video game worlds is finally up to the technical standard to create photorealistic backgrounds for film and TV that look stunning. And we're talking about the technology that was used to create Fortnite, a game that, while very popular, isn't exactly a game that would be merited for its artistic style. The LED panels don't only look good, they are revolutionary. They change the face of film production. Live on-the-fly editing in VR with the ability to change your environment with the click of a button have completely changed how productions will work on film and TV in the future. And in my humble opinion, this is progress I, personally, am excited to see. The success and the quality of The Mandalorian proves that this fusion of video game tech and good old-fashioned filmmaking is a moneymaker, and I bet the studios have noticed. Of course, at the end of the day, technology does have its drawbacks. The largest of these being that it could affect jobs for lighting riggers and set designers who are still needed, but to a lesser extent on these types of productions. If LED screens backed up by video game engines became the done thing, we'd likely see a lot more software engineers and less traditional film production staff on set. Is this a bad thing in the long run? Probably not. As things go digital, it is natural for people to shift vocation towards newer tech. However, in the short to medium term, some roles on set are in jeopardy, at least for productions like this. At the end of the day, time will tell whether digital sets will live on. I hazard a guess, they're here to stay. Technique is an interesting part of the relationship between film and video games that I feel doesn't get talked about enough. Well, it is and it isn't. We talk about how video games use cinematics to tell story in the same way film does, and that video games took a lot of influence from film in order to tell stories. However, we never talk about the inverse of that. That is to say, we never talk about how filmmakers have employed techniques traditionally reserved for video games to tell their stories. Take Hardcore Henry for example. The film utilises the first-person shooter perspective to great effect to portray a powerful, action-packed shoot-'em-up movie. The way the story is structured also follows along the lines of a video game, with much of the story being held in short conversations that almost feel like Call of Duty cutscenes in between large action set pieces. The film seems to draw very heavily from Far Cry, as the run-and-gun fast-paced story would fit right at home in a Far Cry game. The first-person perspective really lends itself well to this genre, and it was all because of its popularisation in first-person shooters. Looking at something more meaningful, however, we need look no further than 2019's 1917, the tense World War I movie directed by Sam Mendes. It's about two soldiers, Blake and Schofield, who are sent on a mission to deliver a message to save thousands of lives. With the clock ticking and the film being shot to make it look like it was all one take, the movie paces itself to make you feel tense all of the time. One thing in particular Sam Mendes used to make you feel connected to the characters was to utilise over-the-shoulder follow-on shots that almost mimic the third-person perspective in video games. Sam Mendes got the idea to follow the characters in such a way by watching his children play Red Dead Redemption 2, saying that he found the experience hypnotic and that he wanted to emulate that feeling, but with real emotional stakes. Implying Red Dead Redemption 2 doesn't have real emotional stakes?
Let's go! Give me a sec. Come on! Push, Arthur!
Either way, he used the way the camera would follow the player while action was happening to tell his intense story with high stakes. And you can see it in many of the shots from 1917. It really helps give the story a literal forward motion that rhymes perfectly with the story as it progresses, giving everything a feeling of momentum, keeping you on your toes. However, moving on, there is one aspect of the creative realm that we haven't touched on quite yet, and that is the Omniverse. Now at this point I am cheating a little bit because I'm not really talking about just the Omniverse, which is a piece of consumer software that is designed so that creatives could make machinimas. Now, what is a machinima? Well, let's rewind a little bit. A machinima is, in essence, a creative work that has been captured from gameplay footage using the assets of a game engine to tell a story. So if you record some gameplay and add some voiceover to it, you have effectively made a machinima. However, they can be a lot more complicated than that, even going as far as having hit series that are filmed entirely in-game, such as Red vs. Blue. Without going into the history of machinima, in essence, they and the community played a large role in the steady progression of video game cinematography, and still do today. So yeah, they were quite a big deal, especially in the mid-noughties and early 2010s. However, recently, the format had become stagnant. This is where Nvidia, a graphic card company's software, comes into play. The Omniverse. Omniverse Machinima is a tool that will soon be used to edit and use assets from most video games in order to create your own cinematic stories, with technology such as facial recognition animation, which when used with a webcam can automatically animate your face and implant it onto a character of your choosing. With this technology, you can create characters and give them dialogue without knowing how to physically animate it yourself. This is huge for consumers who want to create their own stuff, and with a bit of luck, could revolutionise prosumer creations in the next few years. Will it replace high quality CGI made by professionals? No, probably not. However, it is a great software that has specifically been designed for people to create their own stories without the expertise. One place this could be used in professional environments is in building large crowds of people, or possibly in generating large-scale battles from afar. However, with the software in its infancy, we aren't sure how effective all of this will be when put into the hands of users. Now, I don't know for sure what the future has in store for these two industries, but I do think, given the evidence, that the video game and movie industries have seen the benefits of working together, and at the end of the day, money talks. All in all, it doesn't matter if you like to sit in the cinema and enjoy a good movie, or sit at home and play a good game for 11 hours. What really matters is we're all here for a good, old-fashioned story. And that's really all that matters. Well, unless you play multiplayer, then I guess this doesn't apply to you. Bye bye!